breasts for that one dish that we have, the chicken breast with pomelito and the green mole sauce. And so I'm going to show you how to fabricate the Airline chicken breast, and then the rest of it we're going to roast and use that as pulled chicken that goes on top of the panuchos, which is just another one of the ones that's on the menu. Make sense? So we'll be using whole chickens, but we're using different parts for different stuff. So if we want to cut an Airline chicken, the first thing you want to do is remove the wishbone. And the wishbone, if I take off some of this skin, you see, okay?
Yeah.
On the front, it's shaped like this right around the neck in the breast meat. And so once you cut that skin off, if you feel on the breast meat above the neck, you'll feel a bone right underneath the breast meat there that you can cut on top of. And so you just make a light cut on both sides. And then with my fingers, I can run right up the wishbone. So let me show you. So, sorry. You can see my fingers underneath the wishbone right now. So if you've all seen a wishbone before, like it comes together at the top and then it has the two parts that come out on either side. So when I run up, I'm getting up to that point where it comes together. And if I grab it from there and I put my thumb on the back side of it, then I could just pull down and it will come out. And oftentimes they might be broken in here. And if they do, you'll feel it. You'll feel it like giving away, and you can feel like a sharp point somewhere where it's cracked. And if that happens, then you just want to make sure you pull out both sides so they're gone. The reason why you take this out before you do anything else is because when we go and take the breast off, if we don't take it off, when you come along and you cut, you'll hit the wishbone, and you either go through it if you were cutting really hard and then there's a bone in the chicken breast, or you'll run along next to it and then you'll leave more breast meat on the carcass that you could have gotten by taking the wishbone out. Everybody follow? Okay, so step 1, remove wishbone. Step 2, French the wings. And so Frenching is when we have a clean exposed bone. The classic is the lamb chops that are French, so you have that clean bone, but you can also French a chicken bone. And to do that, I cut that little flap of skin in between. This is the drumette. This is a drumette. This is the flat of the wing. That's what they're called. And so you want to cut that little flap in between the two of them. And then I want to cut so I go just past the main part of the meat of the drumette and hit the bone. The joint is like here. So I want to make sure I'm not in the joint so I don't cut just this flat off. Otherwise, I won't be able to French the end of that bone. So if I cut it right here and then take and cut all the way around, so I cut everything up to the bone, and then I use the back of the knife to scrape to make sure I have cut everything, and I can see I have just a clean bone exposed there. Does everybody see? So if I take that now and I push it the way that imagine your arm, maybe don't imagine your arm, but imagine your arm. Like if you push it straight, it stops. If I were to push really hard, you could disjoint. If someone was strong enough, you could do it probably to someone's arm, but this is a chicken. It's not that strong. So if I take and I get it taut like that, and then I snap down, this end's gonna come off, and it's gonna leave just that Frenched bone. So if I just pull that right off, and you can see that's like a cleaned bone there. So that's the flat and tip. We could use that in something else. So I'm gonna do that again. So cut it, go down to the bone, all the way around. Scrape. The scraping will help reveal if you missed somewhere. And again, notice I use the back of my knife, so I'm not damaging the edge by scraping it up against the bone. I'm just using the back. And you can see I didn't cut it right there, so I can come back if I missed somewhere, and then with the edge, cut that. Make sure I got a clean bone again, and then same thing, I'm just gonna snap that down to take off that, the flat there. So far so good. So wishbone removed, Frenched both wings, and then I'm gonna take the knife and I wanna cut in between where the skin in between where the breast meat ends and the leg starts. So I'm just going to make a cut all the way down in between there. Some people will do it by going underneath the chicken, the inside, and come out and cut up. Either way works. So either way you're cutting in the right place, and that way you're going to leave the skin. When we do our airline chicken, we want to have the skin on so we can crisp that in a pan and make so we have this nice crispy skin that goes with it. And then from there, I'm going to take the breast meat off. There's a bone called a keel bone that sticks up. So there's ribs that are shaped kind of like this on that right now, and then there's this bone that sticks up where the ribs come together. It's called the keel. It's right here. Again, you can feel it if you run your finger along. So we want to pick one side to cut one breast off. And so I'm going to angle slightly. Notice I take my fingers and make the skin kind of taut so that the skin doesn't slide around as I'm trying to cut one side off. And I'll run right up against that keel bone from one end to the other. I don't have to worry about the wishbone because I took it out already. And you're going to see that if we look on the inside now, you can see the keel right there. And you can see the breast meats over here. And when you go down, you're going to start to hit bones, and you're hitting the top of the rib bones where they come up and connect to the keel. And then once I've gotten down to that point, then I just start angling along the same angle as the ribs to take the rest of this breast off. And when you get down to here, so again, I came down along here next to the keel, then turned so I could run next to these rib bones. When you get down to here, you need to be careful about where is this wing, because we're calling it an airline chicken or a chicken supreme because it has that wing on. And if we cut this part wrong, you could cut it off. So what I usually do is I'll take and get it so I have it in my hand, so I can feel that I have the bone in my hand. And then you're looking for where there's a joint in between this long bone that you run along toward the neck and the wing. And if you look in there, you'll see there's this white at the end of each of them, and there's some connective tissue in between them. So to take this breast off, once you've gotten down there, I just need to cut in between those two, and the airline breast is gonna come off. So the airline breast has got the wing, it's otherwise boneless. And if we've done it right, we don't have any connective tissue on this side. So one risk when you do this is when you cut down here, if you cut too hard, you'll go through this cartilage that's here. And then when you go this way, it'll be left on the breast, and you'll have cartilage up on this breast meat here. You can see this tiny bit of cartilage right here, which probably came from that actually. And so I'm just going to cut that off to make sure this is clean. And I don't have any bones or cartilage on the back. This is the chicken tender here. It's still connected to the breast, not by anything strong, so they're easy to fall off if you are too rough handling them. And we've got the skin covering the breast there that we want. I'm going to put that there. So doing the other side, same thing. The one thing about doing the second side is you can actually yield a little bit more meat from it, because the keel actually starts, move that out of the way. The keel actually starts here, not way up in the front of it here. So if I take my boning knife and I go right to where the keel starts and get on the other side of it, and again, I angle a little bit to try and stay right up against that keel with the tip of the knife. Notice I'm just using the tip of the knife too. I'm not cutting like this. Then you could take whatever meat is left in the front and cut this way and push it and get it all to come off with this breast, so you don't leave a bunch of breast meat just in the center of the carcass that you're not going to be able to do anything with. So again, I'm going to take this and run the knife. Whoops, I just cut some cartilage, so we'll see that when I take the breast off. So I'm just running right next to the bones. And again, I'm going to get to the point where I can look for where that bone is, look for where the connection is between the bone. In this case, there's some blood in here from that's not uncommon, like just some of the blood vessels when it was fabricated and clean might have broken. And I'm going to cut in between those two to get that off. So this I would clean to get off some of that blood before we use it. And as I mentioned, I caught some of the cartilage, and you could see it here on the end of this chicken breast. So that was, you notice how there's a gap right here? That's when I came down. This knife's pretty sharp, so I pushed a little too hard and it went right through the cartilage. So to get that off, I just flatten this knife out, get underneath it. This is extra skin, so I'm gonna cut that off anyway. And cut that out. And there's still a little bit, so cut that out. And again, this would get rinsed out, and otherwise we've got a clean airline chicken breast. Make sense? So this, we're gonna just roast it. We're gonna season it and roast it for our menu. And then when it's done, we'll pull the chicken legs apart and pull the meat out of it. If you cook anything with bones in it, it's always gonna be more flavorful. So there's no benefit to us taking the bones off of the legs now and then cooking it. It's very easy to take apart after it's cooked. So that's how we'll handle it. If you were doing something different with it than what we're doing with our menu and you wanted to take the legs off, I'll show you how to do that. But again, we'll actually just take the carcass like this with the legs on it and these bones and roast it like that. If you're removing the legs, on the back side, there's this kind of U shape to the cavity there. And there's a bone right here on either side. And if you look at the angle of that bone, go on the opposite side of it and make a little cut there, you'll run right up next to the bone. And then you can take this leg and turn it up and it will disjoint. You heard that? It'll pull the thigh out of the like hip joint that's in there from making that cut there. And I do the same thing on the other side. And again, it just disjoints it. You can tell it's disjointed when those legs lay flat like that. And then if I wanted to take these off and get as much meat off of this cartilage and one prized section of the leg area, then you'd take it, lift the legs together like this so you can see where the oysters are. So the oyster is a muscle that's in the back of the chicken. That's like a circle. It looks a little bit like the meat inside an oyster, hence the name. And where you see them, if I cut the skin right above where I see those bumps and then pull this leg back, you'll see the end of the oyster. So I can see it, it's right here. There's like a bump right there. And so then if I make just a little cut on that oyster and then with my finger, I can push my finger in there and it'll push the oyster up because the oyster is sitting in a bone that's shaped like this. And so by putting my finger in there, it just pushes the muscle out of there. And then take this and hold that whole leg section and cut right next to the back and just keep following along and you'll get this leg off. That's the oyster right there. That's the oyster muscle. Make sense? You can see where it was here and there's a bone there. So same thing on the other side, pull that leg back and look for the bump that is the end of the oyster. Make a little cut on it. Use your finger to push it up. And then stay right next to the bone or the back and cut off the leg. And then we're just left with a carcass that has ideally very little meat here. The common places that meat gets left is right here from cutting straight. Remember I said you can cut one side and get it, or not staying up against the ribs and leaving meat along here or right up against the keels. And there's not much left on this, but there is a lot of connective tissue in this. So we use it to make stock, which is what we'll do with any bones when we fabricate them all the way like this. The wings, typically, if you were gonna fry these or something, usually the tips are taken off. And so if you move it, you can see kind of where the joint is in between the tip and the flat, and you can cut right in between them so that you just have the flats. These often go into stock as well. And these might get fried for like buffalo wings or whatever, or family meal. It's a common one. And this also would go into stock. So we have the 2 legs, the 2 airline